So today on the podcast, we have Insync ambassador and aspiring New Zealand rower Alex Lawrenson covering some aspects to do with hard work, resilience, perseverance, and chasing the feeling. So we'll start with, who are you and where have you come from?
Well, thank you, Daniel. It's good to be with you and have you up here with me for the next few days or next day or so. So basically, I'm a 20-year-old rower living in Auckland, living in a flat, living on my own, part-time work, and then training full-time to, well, hopefully one day make the New Zealand rowing team. So sort of a bit about me. And where have I come from? Come from Wellington. So
that's how we met.
Yeah, well, that's how we met.
Yeah,
Wellington. Yeah, but well, if we got to go really far back, I was born in Russia, got adopted into New Zealand, lived in Wellington, and basically grew up with my parents here, or in Wellington, and then went to Wellington College. After that, was going to pursue my dream in flying, and instead, one summer in Whangamata, I moved up to, decided I wouldn't go back to flying and instead chased my dream of rowing. I did a bit in college, but it was I got injured, popped a disc out and didn't really help me. So came back into it after, basically a year and a half ago, and it just felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. It's what I wanted to do. Rowing fits in well with hard work and everything like that. So it was then I decided to get into rowing, and then to move to Auckland was just opportunity, and obviously now with someone I'm very lucky to be with. And
before we talk about rowing and things,
yeah,
does your family background have any effect on how you live today?
How I live?
Well, you're to do with just being from Russia originally, and to do with that,
So just who I am, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I lost my mum about, would have been in 2017, so 5 years ago today. Well, this year. And obviously, and then being born in Russia, it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a ride, I'd say. Definitely being from Russia and adopted, it's pretty hard to take that in for anyone, and to know that you've got two sets of parents, and one that you probably don't want to see and one that you do, you love and you're with in New Zealand, the ones that I have now. Well, and then, to lose one of them and getting all these questions and stuff. But I think it definitely changes people, and you can either go one way or the other of, choosing what you want. You can either make something out of your life and keep doing what you're doing and go for your dreams and goals, or you see what a lot of people do, and that's throw it all away because they just feel like they've got nothing now.
Or they feel like the world is against them.
Pretty much, yeah. It's I don't know, it's a tough thing to take in, but I think, that's definitely shaped me as to who I am today, and I guess I'll go through that in this podcast that we'll go through.
Learn how to, Then what do you think motivates you to get up in the morning? It's like your first thought as soon as you wake up.
That's a hard one. I mean, motivation, I wouldn't say anything motivates me to get up. I wouldn't say it like that. It's more, I wake up and maybe I'm not feeling good, or, I'm tired, I don't want to go to training, but it's probably the goals that I've set myself and the aspirations and passion that I have, to win an Olympic gold medal one day, and to be, to try my best to be the best rower basically in the world. Not just an average junkie who goes to the Olympics and just sees how well they can do. I want to be the best of the best. It's you got to know to do that is to go and train when you don't want to train, and to perform in situations that are very uncomfortable, and, that you just want to crawl up into a ball. So I think just having that always at the back of your mind, and, to know that that's what you want to do for your life, and to never it's really just to discipline and to tell yourself that you're not going to give up, and you're going to, no matter what, you're just going to keep going. So motivation's probably there about 30 to 40% of the time.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I really like this line you put in your blog post the other day. It was, once your mind tells you to quit and you take action, that's the dangerous part.
Yeah.
When do you feel like that?
Quite a lot. not all the time, but you definitely have
Mm.
trainings. Maybe you're on the erg, or well, most of the time it will be on the erg and maybe on the water, and you're sort of through. I don't know. We used to do these max pieces at rate 20, and you'd be at 30, 45 or an hour, and you'd be, if you're doing an hour, even a 45 minute, you'd sort of be 15, 20 minutes in, and you're sort of telling yourself to stop and give up, like it's hurting, man, like you're in a lot of pain, and you're sort of just like, I can. And that's the easy thing, is that you can stop. It's not like anyone's pushing you.
Yeah.
Everything's in your, the ball's always in your court, so it's sort of, I mean, yeah, that's probably when you would have it, and then that's the decision you got to make, which is, okay, am I going to stop, or am I got to keep going? And I think you get to a point where you'll push yourself past that pain, or past that sort of moment of, I guess, doubt and quitting, and then you just sort of plateau for a bit, and you're sort of holding it, and then you'll get to maybe the last 20 minutes, and you're just like, okay, I've done this so many times. 20 minutes is nothing. Now I'm just gonna. Your whole mindset changes. It sort of goes into like what we were talking about before, like when you're talking about survival and sort of fight or flight mode.
Your fight or flight instincts are activated.
Yeah, they literally are, because you're just like, okay, I'm actually, I'm gonna go even if it kills me, sort of thing. Well, that's what I get anyway, as me. But I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna rip it, and then I'll be barely breathing at the end. I'll think I'm probably about to die, about to throw up or something. But it's just that middle. There's that, I don't know what it is, but there's that part. It's just about 10 to 15 minutes after the start, and you're just like, you're sort of like, why am I doing this? Why am I in this position? Your brain tries to take you out of it, and that's just where you're just like, no.
It's like before the race, you have your mindset on it. You're like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But then once you get into it and things actually start to hurt,
yeah,
is that kind of when you start to feel like that's when things start to feel bad, sort of
exactly
and things
right,
like that, and like this when like the negative thoughts come. Like just had so many experiences like that, just in other things when that happens or whatever, and it's just kind of learning like how you deal with. You just kind of said, and that's how you deal with them.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like before you go into that moment of the pain, and like you're preparing your mind. There's no point in doing it. I don't even do that. Like, there's no point, because you're preparing. You're trying to get into a mindset when you're not even in that position yet, and it's just sort of like it's imagination, and that's where you get overthinking and stress and sort of everything like that. That's where all that comes from, because your mind just paints this image of you have been in this position before, and being in a comfortable position and thinking about it, you're like, yeah, I can do anything. I can do this. I can do that when I'm in that position. And then you get into that position, and you're just like, actually, I can't. And that's just where resilience comes in. Really, if you think about it like that, it's sort of just, okay, who's going to be toughest on the day? You can think about it. You can imagine it. You can, in a comfortable environment, you can do whatever you want. But
where do you think that? Do you think there's any other things that you do in your everyday life to help you overcome that pain that you feel in that moment?
Oh yeah, there is. I mean, definitely. It's just because it's not just like for that moment. It's just everything you do every day is just sort of doing things you don't want to do, or just going through. You're basically putting yourself in a life of a flight or a fight sort of situation every day, and not all the time, because I think we've talked about it before. It's you don't want to do it all the time, but to just, if you do that every day, you're growing as a person, and you're changing, and it's sort of it will just grow you and make you more resilient and mentally stronger. And because if I you go to training in the morning, and it'll be maybe a lighter or a harder session, whatever it is. Then you'll come back home, and for the rest of the day you might just sit around and do nothing. And then you'll actually, and if you have another training that evening, you'll feel worse than if you went to work from say 9 till 4, and you're doing work even if you didn't like it. That training afterwards would be so much easier than even if you thought you were resting and recovering your body lying on the couch. Like, no. But you've got to put yourself, and then your body's moving, so it's good for that as well. So it's sort of just
you learn a lot. I really like what you said before to do with when that thought is when you get to that moment when your thoughts start to kind of go there, you could get bad thoughts come in when you're in that moment of pain. You talk about your imagination.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's you said before, your imagination is what gets you there.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what I find whenever I get to those moments, I almost do something. It was something I learned, just kind of, when I get to that moment, I kind of almost just focus on my creative source, and then that kind of just brings me, it feels like it just brings me back into my body and allows me to carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even I've found recently I've been doing it, and it's really helped. And what I found is to actually, when you are in a position like that, is to ask yourself, who told you that? And you ask that, or even if you're overthinking, or, you know, this is to anyone who is overthinking or stressed out, or just, you know, thinking of the worst case scenario, or you're in a position like that. Yeah, just ask yourself, who told you that? And then you'll apply to yourself, I guess, and you'll be like, I did, you know, it was me. And then you'll think, well, obviously my imagination, because I've told myself that, but what do I know? It's like, you know, no one else has told me that. It's just what I've made up. And then you sort of, it actually just calms your body, and it just gets rid of all those thoughts, and you sort of, it's changing your mindset. And then when you change your mindset, you change your attitude. You change your attitude, you change your performance, or whatever it is.
It all starts with your thoughts.
It does. Yeah. And I think people really underestimate that, especially in sport, and they think, oh, physiologically I'm not good, or I'm unfit. And it's like, mate, like, take a step back, ask yourself, you know, who told yourself that you can't run this? You did, because you think you're unfit, or you know, you're not gonna, you know, you can't get up to that level. But, you know, it's just, end of the day, it's your thoughts. Just,
because that's something. I used to play tennis myself when I was younger, and something I just picked this up a bit later that I was doing is whenever I like say Mr. Shot or something, I feel like be like, what the fuck, Daniel? What are you doing or something? How do you say, just like be real negative? And then and I found that was having no beneficial to me. It wasn't beneficial for me at all. Definitely. And it's just kind of changing that and be like, oh yeah, it's all right. It's like this. It's all right to suffer and stuff. And it's just, and then you learn so much from that. Just being kind to yourself. Oh yeah. I've had trainings. You'll be rowing or something, and then you just get so frustrated, and you'll say in your mind, like, for fuck's sake, why don't I do this or that, or come on, like, you know, you might have a stroke or something, and be like, oh, come on, I should have done better than that. And then it's like, at the end of the day, you gotta be, okay, I mucked up a stroke. What did I do wrong? How can I fix it? And then you just sort of relax, and then you do fix it. Sort of. But then, okay, so this is to do with achieving your dreams. And anyway, so as I work as a holistic coach, you're just kind of looking at, just holistic means whole, so it's looking at the whole perspective, which means just helping someone with mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. So it's just without one or the other, it's kind of just, there's something wrong, like other stuff can happen. Just like usually what happens. But anyway, so something I found really interesting the other day was, it was someone's definition to do with spirituality, because spirituality just means being creative. Well, my definition of it is being creative, and you're accessing just your creativeness. And a spiritual person is someone who uses their creative power to achieve their dreams. So anyway, it's to do with art. And anyway, and then, so that definitely sounds a lot like you're doing. And like, what do you think you use that like is creative? Like, is it when you row? Like, do you think it's different? Do you think you're looking at it like, are you being creative when you row? Do you think, or like what parts of? What part of like? Are you trying to look at rowing like a different perspective? Like you can kind of, because you want to like, you're aiming for performance. Is there like a way you kind of look at it or like visualize it differently? Do you think to other people?
Definitely.
Or kind of you just look at it way more in depth?
I think, well, the most obvious that I can see right now is that fundamentals of rowing are all the same. It's, you row a stroke a certain way, and that's how everyone does it. But I think everyone, and only the top coaches will ever tell you this as well, is that basically everyone is different. Everyone has their own style, different body structures, different body types, basically different styles, different techniques. One drill, one technique, one change might work for someone, and they can go really fast off it, but it might not work for someone else, and it might make them even slower than they are. Rowing's all about, what I've been told is how you transfer your weight in the boat. And that's obviously a vital thing, because if you're transferring it down,
Yeah.
you're not going to glide and you're not
Yeah.
going to move the boat. If you're transferring it forward, as in basically opposite way, obviously, and for the people who don't know rowing, you're facing backwards in a boat,
Yeah.
and you're basically pulling the oars in towards you,
Yeah.
and you're sort of shooting the boat backwards. That's probably the best definition I can give. So if you're sort of transferring all your energy to the, I guess you call it the front of the boat, to where you're facing, then you're going to slow the boat. So it's just about where you're putting your weight and your energy and how you're transferring it in the boat, because you want to be as light as possible by producing as much power, while also keeping the boat in, I guess you can say, honestly, in sync.
Yeah.
It's all just got to be in sync.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, your company pretty much, or the name of your brand and company, it represents rowing. Those two words are probably the definition of rowing, in sync.
Yeah.
Like I was like thinking about it, I was like, yeah, because if one thing's off, boom, especially in a smaller boat, that's it, and it can make all the difference, or it can cost you the gold to silver medal, or even gold to fourth place.
Yeah.
It can do anything. So I think, being in sync, having everything, lining up the way you want it. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but at the end of the day, it's whoever's, I guess, just faster and more determined.
Yeah. To do with being in sync or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you? So I definitely think that sounds really important. You need to be like that on race day.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because you say you had another quote you talked about in your blog was, "Nothing is worth it if you don't perform on race day." Like, what do you like? How do you make sure that you can perform on race day? Like, do you get nervous beforehand, or it was just from your training? Do you just build up so much faith from just the hard work that you have faith in yourself, and you don't think you're in the survival instinct, and you just kind of do it on race day? Is that kind of what happens?
I think there's a few factors to it. The first one would be nerves.
Yeah.
I think, and that will catch out a lot of people, and this is for anything in life, is two types of nerves you have. There's your good nerves, and then you can have too many nerves. Your good nerves being, having a good amount is you can throw up, that's fine, that's all good. And that's the nerves of, you really care about something, you really want to do well in it. That's good to have. That's fine to have. And then there's the too many nerves where you don't think you've done enough.
Yeah.
You're not confident in yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you're ready.
Yeah.
And that's like, when I say quitting, that's that's pretty much the same thing. That's, if you have those nerves and you're not confident in yourself, especially on race day, you've lost the race already.
Yeah.
Like, no point even going out and starting.
Yeah.
So
it's like going on a date.
Yeah, you can relate it to that. That's going on a date. You can. You're like, oh, am I going to do this and this right or that right? Are they going to think of me in this way or that way? It's the same. It's the same thing. Yeah, you can relate it to anything in life, and it's yeah. So I think that's the biggest one, is that you've got to line up even before you line up. You've got to be down at the race course or wherever you are and be like, I've done enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I can. Basically, you got to tell yourself, you're like, I can win. I can do this. I'm gonna win. And you can sound as cocky as you like, but if you have one slight bit of doubt come into your head, like, oh, actually, there was that day I missed. Boom, that's your career over, or your race over. No point even going out. So I think you've just got to, just trust that you've done the work, put in the hard yards, and then to obviously do that, then you've got to train and training. And that comes down to just being disciplined and going to every training, even if you don't want to. If you skip a training, it's fine to skip a training here and there, obviously not consistently. Or even if you find a way to make up for it, it's like, but you've obviously got to put in the work.
Yeah.
And if you are having those nerves of, am I ready? You haven't done the work, obviously. So to train your brain as well, or your mind to say that I've done the work, that's also part of it. So I think there's so many factors you can go into, but for the two simplest would be those, just having that mindset, sort of, and the nerves. So
I definitely think too that sounds like it all kind of relates to being kind to yourself, because when you don't turn up to training, you're almost being unkind to yourself, Because turning up to training, and even though it is painful, but if you look at it from the bigger picture, you are being kind to yourself to go out and achieve your dreams when you do that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just kind of, it is, and like you can just kind of realize that in those small moments, but then that builds up before race day. You have, you feel like it's like a form of, you have that kindness to yourself and your self-love. You're like, I have faith, like I'm ready to go on race day. And on to do with believing in yourself, like you said, because you're not really that big for a rower.
I'm very,
and you
I'm
say like, and like definitely like that. There's not many rowers who have made it at your size. Is that true?
Well, yeah. Oh, there'd be a phenomenal amount. People get told they're too short or too small, and then obviously they'll put them in the dumps. I mean, there's guys with, I'm a Hamish Bond setter. There's guys with legs the size of my arms. Arms the size of my legs. That's like,
And like, do those comments ever get annoying or something? Like, do you just know? Or what happens when they have those comments? Like, how do you deal with those? And do they get annoying sometimes, or like, how do you deal with them?
Definitely at the start, when I was starting out, they did. And for an average person, I'm not small. I'd say I'm probably average, maybe a little bit above or something. But yeah, as a rower, I'm basically 5'10", 5'11". I'm at 69, 70 kilos. But you get comments from people saying, like, oh, you'll never pull an erg score as big as this guy or as fast as this person because they're a lot bigger. And that is true. They do have a lot more power and weight, just raw strength and power. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to get to. It's like, even at my weight, people think, oh, physiologically you can never get to it. But it's like, well, that's false. There just hasn't been anyone tough enough to actually give it a crack. It takes a lot of hard work, and you've got to go through basically think about it. There's millions of people in the world who probably row, and you've got to the best out of all of them. That's hard to do. That's like, you've got to find. I think that's where you have the mindset of, okay, I'm not like any one of those. There's something in me that they don't have or they can't have that I was given, and that I'm going to use to be the best. And I think finding that potential or that spark in you, that once you have or you find what it is,
it's like using that creativeness and your imagination to actually believe in yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, I guess, sort of when you were talking about spirituality and how it has been creative and everything, and there's never one way to do something. There's always another way to do something. So it's bringing something new to the table. And I think the problem with a lot of people who want to be at the top but aren't quite there is that they look at the top guys and sort of try and mimic what they do. And they think because they're tough and they've done that, but no, because it's worked for them, it's not going to work for you. They found what they've been given or they have, not you. So I think, going back to sort of, I guess being small and stuff, like, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I'd say, as cocky as it might sound, and I'm not a cocky, I'm a pretty modest guy. I probably would be, one of the tops at the club I'm at now. And, I'm striving to be the best, and that's what I've got to do is just work. You just got to work harder, and you just got to be more creative, be more imaginative, think different, like outside the box, I guess that's saying. So it comes down to really it's almost like being you, just be yourself, really. And then you sort of find out what.
Because you're not really going to find out who you are unless you go out and do something.
Yeah, and then you've got to trial and error. Yeah, exactly. You've got to trial and error things. You've got to, things aren't always going to work out, but it's not like you've wasted all that time. You've used that time to see what doesn't work. And now you're like, okay, what's going to work? And that's like a massive leap in front of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that they will never probably ever find. So it's just about doing that, really, in my opinion.
I completely agree.
It's a big one, that one. Really.
To do with that, with achieving dreams, I actually have found a quote that actually I read this in a book. Sorry, not a book, but I just read this somewhere a wee while ago, and it's to do with your thoughts and just manifestation and like believing in yourself and achieving your dreams. And it's to do with someone was writing about Albert Einstein's work, and they said the whole of Einstein's life work was to show that what we perceive as matter is mostly empty space with a pattern of energy running through it. This includes ourselves. And what quantum physics has shown is that when we look at these patterns of energy at smaller and smaller levels, startling results can be seen. Experiments have revealed that when you break apart small aspects of this energy, what we can call elementary particles, and try to observe how they operate, the act of observation itself alters the results of these elementary particles that are influences by the experimenter. This is true that even when the particles must appear in places that couldn't possibly go, given the laws of the universe as we know them, they are in two places at the same mode, forward, backward, and that sort of thing. Basically, in other words, all that kind of means is to do with the universe. It's just looking at it to do with, is basically just that the universe is malleable to the human intention and expectation, which means it can be influenced by your thoughts and just the way the particle works. Yeah. If that is too complicated, just let me know. I don't really understand it, but what I basically just got from that is that it's what he found was that things are not set in stone. There's actually to do with the laws of physics or something. Is actually malleable and things can change, and it's to do with your thoughts and the way that you look at it. It's all malleable. It's the way that you think. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, things can always change, and yeah, I mean, nothing's always going to be the same, and your thoughts are definitely going to impact that, and especially how you're feeling as well. It's sort of, I mean, I think what's hard is I think these days as well, when people get into like I wouldn't say depressed state, but sort of quite like when they're in a down, they're just feeling down, is that a lot of people tend to just want to stay there.
Yeah.
And I've been through the same. There's been, moments where you're almost comfortable being.
It takes effort to actually get out of that.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, well, why would I do that? And then, people are like, oh, it'll pass, and it will pass, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back, and it's not going to come back the same. It's going to come back worse. It's going to come back harder. So what I've actually done, and what I do is, anyways, in those moments, with rowing, it's stressful, and it's just in life, and everyone goes through their own things, and I've had anxiety and recently panic attacks, and what I've found is that with these panic attacks, I sort of just used to write them out, and over time they've been getting a lot worse and just coming back stronger, hitting me harder, and it's been pretty difficult. But then now what I'm finding and what I'm doing is when I'm having one, when it's with me, I'm like, okay, bring it on. Like, I'm gonna keep this feeling here. I'm just gonna, if it goes away, I'm gonna pull it back, and I'm gonna just bring myself into make myself have a panic attack. And I'm gonna see how bad I can get it. Kill me if it does. I'm gonna see how bad.
It's almost like a sign. Like, what is it trying to tell you?
Exactly, and that's what you got to do. You got to be in that. You got to, say I'm having one now, and I'm just like sort of freaking out and stuff, and I'm just lying here. I'm just like, okay. And that's when you're sort of like, and then I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's triggering this? Like, how do I cope with this? What can I, just all these things. And then you'll actually find it slowly goes away. And then that's when you're like, no, pull it back in. Like, you got to bring it back and just be like, no way you're going away. And you've just got to be sort of with it. And then I found recently is that they've been taking longer to come back. When they come back, they aren't hitting it as hard. And then if they do hit as hard, it's like, I know how to deal with it. I've been through it, or, I've had times where I've been on the erg and they've come, or just before a training and they've come, and you're sort of, I think that's the hardest, because you're training, you can't actually do that. You can't just be like, okay, come back, because you've got to focus on what you're doing.
It's like when you get the attack because you just you get anxiety from how much pain you're going to go in.
It's probably a trigger. You don't actually know, which is the weird thing, is that you might, know what a trigger might be, but you'll never actually know why they come. And that's the spontaneous thing, is that they will come at the most random, most obscure times. And you, like I said, you might know what triggers them, but you probably won't. And it's literally just about coping and managing.
Just bringing yourself back to the moment, really.
Pretty much, and just being like, okay, because that's the thing, is that panic attacks, they are just your mind going into the future and making these imaginations, these thoughts, these pictures and ideas and images and feelings and emotions of, what the worst feeling you can feel, or the situation that you're going to go into. And it's like, okay, I'm not there, I'm now here. When I get there, when I'm in that moment, I'm going to deal with it as I'm going to deal with it. And that's what you train, and that's what you live and you learn for. It's sort of, it's simple. It's simple, but it's just the
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
It does
It
take
just
a
takes
lot.
some effort.
And it does take a lot. And I get, people, for some people it is too much, but it's really just about being like, okay, the only way I'm going to get out of it is you've got to put an effort. And it's not going to be for the rest of your life. It's only a short time thing, and the more effort and the more time you spend on almost crafting a bad thing, the more, the sooner it's going to go away, and the more stronger, and you're just going to grow. You're going to learn so much. It's amazing.
It's like you talk about when people should experience something like that, or something hard, like something like that every day.
Yeah.
Just kind of because it almost just wakes people up.
Oh, it
Having
does,
to face something like it takes you out of your comfort of your house, or just like watching TV. It's like shit. I actually have to live now.
Yeah, it's just like jumping into an ice bath or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something. It's just a shock to the body. Shock to the system, and that's just. And I guess in that moment you almost feel like you're in third person. You don't want to be in control of your body. You just let it just take over you. But if you can just get control, sort of like riding a bike. If you take your hands off, you got no control.
Yeah.
If you put them on, you've got all the control. So it's sort of like that. Yeah, but I was just saying, like, thoughts. You're controlling your thoughts and what you think, and yes and no.
Yeah.
I think that's good. This is my opinion. I'm just speaking out of me. But I think to have those thoughts, just let them flow.
Yeah.
I think you've got to, because I think once you get control of your thoughts, that's almost a key or a portal to getting control of your emotions, which is you don't want to do that.
But then, I find that's really good. Like figuring out how to do that, because it helps you in times of stress, and
definitely,
you kind of know who you are. But in those times of, like you say, cold shock or like hard work, that's like the thoughts flow, and you can't do anything about that. If you know what I mean, like that can be bad thoughts, but they do start flowing, and like that's when you control them. But like when you're just like us sitting here now, I could have like 1,000 thoughts going through my brain. That's all good, because I'm not in an uncomfortable position. I don't need to sort of. It's just that's different. Than to if you're on an erg or you're in a cold bath or something, and you've got 20 minutes to go. And you're like, if you have all these thoughts running through, it'll affect you. And you can't let that happen. But obviously now it doesn't affect any performance or anything I do. So I think that it's really about just when you sort of learning how and when to turn them on. Turn them on.
Control and that's sort of a big thing. But
because I think when you put yourself out there, and like for example, like when I jump in the ocean or jump in the cold water, like they're all like, you can't do anything about like it. You get it. It all starts like it all hits you. Like it's like whoa. Yeah.
It is. And it's like that's when you'll get the thoughts of shit, get out of here. Like sort of what am I doing? Die or something. And but that's just what we were talking about before. It's just your mind and your imagination just sort of. I mean, obviously your body is going to go into shock, but it's just about learning how to sort of.
We were just talking about this just then about I didn't want to put something on here, but you seem like you're really authentic and you're putting everything out there. What do you think? What do you think just is the key to doing that? Just kind of like being you, like all the time. Or like not, because I feel like definitely not to like with some people, like you hold things back and you don't talk to you. I feel like you used to do that as well. Like
I did, I was very big on it as well. Actually, it was probably up until really recently, probably honestly less than a week or two ago, and I just I was sort of, I'm like, I think you get guys like David Goggins and stuff, they spike you, they tell you the whole story, and it just sort of, I was like, I was just sitting in my bed one day and I was like, why am I holding things back? Like, because it just doesn't make, if I'm not telling people things, and if I'm just holding things from people, I'm not authentic. It's not me. And I think the trick is to just, at the end of the day, like, who cares what people think? You can't let people's, perceptions or thoughts or opinions, like, make you who you are. It's you are who you are because you are who you are, and it's unique. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where one day you'll be like, okay, I'm just not going to hold it back. Because like with Mum and with Russia and with everything, I used to tell people I grew up in a different place. I'd say, I'm Australian, I'm from New Plymouth, I'm from down south, I'm from, I don't know, some other crappy place in the world. And it was that feeling of sort of, that stuff would build up as well, and you'd just be like, it wasn't you, and you knew it wasn't. You're almost making character that doesn't exist, and you're trying to be that character, that doesn't exist, and it's not real. So nothing about that is happening in real life, and what's happening to you is you're losing basically you. You're like sinking into the ground, and you're letting this non-existent thing take over, and you're just not going to improve or grow or anything in life. And I think then telling people, okay, you know what, actually, no, I am from Russia. I was born there. I was adopted. I was brought to Wellington. Yeah, cool. I've grown up in Wellington.
It's like having the courage to actually tell people what I want to do and like, this is who I am.
Courage.
Basically.
It's courage. And it does take time. And it's fine. It's fine to not be all right telling people. I think that's the thing, is that you can't let anyone just be like, oh, like, come on, just tell people it's fine. And you can't let, it's all in your own time. But I think it's how you learn, because you're gonna learn, and you're gonna be, you know, it's just your own journey, and no one can interfere or anything with that. So for me, it's, you know, talking about that and talking about, you know, Mom, that was a big one. I think I would have told about 2 or 3 people about Mom, and that would have gone on for about literally through to halfway through this year. And I didn't tell anyone, and now I'm just like, okay, if someone's gonna ask or anything, I'm just gonna be like, cool. Like I'm not gonna bring it. I'm not gonna go yelling with the megaphone around town and shouting that stuff out and stuff. But it's, you know, it makes you who you are. And people think, you know, I used to put on an act of being tough, and I'd consider myself, you know, I am tough when it comes to needing to be tough. Like, you know, there's times, and I think what really makes you tough is really just opening up. I think Annie definitely helped me with that.
Just opening up and expressing yourself.
And that's what I did with her, and it just sort of just made me, and that probably was what opened me up, and it just made me feel like now, I was there months where I was depressed. I was, you know, having this anxiety, the panic attacks and everything, and it's like now that you've sort of, it's just that build up. It's a build up.
Realizing that it's okay to tell people.
Yeah, exactly. Like what
the stuff is especially bad. I found like just in the, like where we grew up, is like in a boys' school too, or whatever. Like, it's like almost like sometimes it feels like it's like frowned upon, like express your feelings to other people.
It is. I mean that's just in the world. The whole stereotype of being a man is just like, look at me, you got a tough chest pumped out, big muscles, you know, tough, never cries. Last year I think I cried twice. This year I probably cried about shit knows, I can't even count. A lot of times, a lot more times, but that's. And you know, I'm not bawling my eyes everywhere. It's just when you feel sad, you're gonna cry. That is so tough, is to open up and let your emotions. And I thought that was weak. And now that I do it, and I'm like, fuck, that is what makes you tough. You look at the toughest people in the world; they will have the exact same story. They'll have a shit childhood, or you know, some shit moment in their life. And then they'll grow up, and then maybe, you know, just, I don't know, they just sort of.
No, they just
tell people.
It's like you just have those moments where you feel like realize that nothing. It's like you're not giving up, but you realize it doesn't actually matter or whatever. It's like it's all right to tell people things. Like you just kind of, it's like going back to like having faith in yourself, like having faith on race day things. But just having faith, kind of it's like it's kind of like a nice feeling. It's like it's all right, and it's like I'm doing this, and like this is just kind of me, and like this is who I am, and this is my story.
Exactly,
and that what makes it so important. Like.
Like if you're lying to people, or you're not telling people, you know, things such as like, oh, you know, like, you know, you're opening up to people on race day, you know, and then you've got to try tell yourself things that haven't even happened yet. Like, I've got to win, and I've got to, you know, that just becomes you can think that, but then that just becomes when you're actually in that moment, and it's like, you know, when you're trying to open up to someone, you don't have the courage or anything, and boom, you fall back. And then, but if you do open up to people, and you have that courage, you have that resilience, you have that, that's toughness. That is toughness, to tell people that and go through that sort of those feelings and everything. Then when you are in that moment of a race, and you're neck and neck with someone, and you've just got to push harder, and you're telling yourself you can win, and you know, you've opened up, there's nothing you've held back, then you're like, boom, okay, you know, this is true because I've.
It's like rowing as a way of expressing yourself, kind of as like who you are. It's like I do work hard.
It does,
and just everything like that. And just what to do with expressing yourself and the importance, like your story. What do you think? Do you have other ways that you use to express yourself as well?
I mean, I don't. Oh, I guess it's a tough one because
Yeah.
you can. I don't know. You have people on social media, and I really don't like it when people sort of. I guess there's like a very fine line
Yeah.
between, if I express myself on social media, and if I
Yeah.
post this is going to be so many followers and so many likes and crap like that.
Yeah.
Someone who really expresses themselves will never post it on social media.
Yeah.
Because that's like what I was talking about before. That's like going around the neighborhood with a megaphone and saying,
Yeah.
this has happened, la la la. When people ask, that's fine. That's because that's tougher, because that's like, that's not going out and saying things to people who don't actually care. That's people have asked you something, it's brought back like memories and feelings, and you're just like, that's where you have choices. You can go, either I tell them or I just hold it back.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, I'm going to toughen up, and I'm just going to tell them, like,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, why wouldn't you? Why say I didn't know you, and you asking, oh, like, and I get it a lot, like people go like, oh, what does your mom do for work? I'm like, and what I used to do, I was like, oh yeah, she did business, she's in marketing, which she used to be in.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, well, actually, she passed away a few years ago, and people they're probably the most sincere, and like they're actually caring. Like,
Yeah.
it might, they might not give a shit,
Yeah.
but like the expression and that they show to you, it boosts you up, like lifts you up, and it's like, okay, it just gives you that courage to do it again and again and again, because no one's going to be a dick or say anything bad, like, about it. And even if one person does, like, who cares?
Yeah.
So I mean, to people who are going to listen to this and stuff, if I was to give any, say anything and give my personal advice on basically, things like these, is if you think you're getting held back in life, or if you think, you're at a standstill, and you're just not going anywhere, it's because you're holding things back. And it's like being anchored to the bottom of the ocean. Like, to unlock that anchor, you've just got to
Up and up and express yourself.
it pretty much is. What you got to do is you got to open up. You got to open up that lock on your leg. You just got to float to the top, because you can't breathe underwater. But once you get to the surface, you can breathe. It's relieving, but people are just, you're anchored to the ground. They don't even know it.
It's kind of like when you don't express it, it's like having a hole that's just in yourself, just in deeper and deeper and deeper.
And that's why I got those panic attacks and depression and everything like that. It got worse, and it took me years to figure out why.
Yeah.
But that's the good thing, is that I went on this massive journey. I'm still young. I'm a young buck. I found out why. People will go through their whole lives not knowing. Live a depressed, sad, shit life, to be honest. And I'm being straight up, like, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is open up. It's that easy. Like, do you want to waste 80, 90, however long you're going to live, to years of your life, just holding things back and not knowing, what you could have actually achieved, or, the feelings you could have had, or just anything? Or do you actually want to do it? Do it now. Like, to anyone now, go do it. Like, just go open up.
Open up.
Yeah, text a friend, call a friend, or
that thing you have been
member.
wanting to tell someone that has been itching at your side for the last 3 years. Go and tell someone.
In fact, I'll tell you a love story, and I'm gonna love people who love this. And I'm not a cheesy guy, but I'm just gonna say this anyway. This girlfriend I have now, I've never had a girlfriend in my life, and I met her roughly just under 2 years ago in Whangamata, and at first I didn't think much of her, and then I guess getting to know her and everything, as something sparked, and I can tell you the night it was, and I can tell you the date, but that's insignificant. But basically, I knew she was the one, and people say, oh yeah, you have this one, the one, but it doesn't matter. I knew she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
And at first, it was sort of weird at those times. We're both young. We both wanted to have fun and had different views on things, I think. And I had the view of wanting to, be with someone, just be with that one person for the rest of my life. And that's all I want. And that's still now, I don't want anyone else. And she might have had different views being young and fun, which is fair enough. You got to have fun when you're young. And then things went, up and down and left and right. It was a roller coaster. But anyway, we were together, we weren't. We were together, we weren't. And then we weren't. And I was like, okay, just need time away. But I loved her. And it didn't take long for me to realize it. And it was great. But obviously not, I stayed in Whangamata. She was in Auckland, and it was that time away. And I was actually in Whangamata on my own, living at my own place. And basically, through that time, every day I would have thought about her. Literally every day. And I still do, every day, even though I'm with her. And it was tough. And, there would be times where I'd cry and everything. And I wouldn't talk to anyone. And I would hold a lot back. And on top of the things I already had, such as Mum and Russia and all these things.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Auckland, and obviously I was with her, and that was when I was talking about the thing. And I guess it was about this year, probably just after our national. So April, May, we were sort of talking a bit on and off. And then there's one day where we just kept talking, and the convos just kept flowing. It felt really good. And I was like, okay. She went to America, came back, and then we caught up.
Yeah.
And sort of, there were things that, she did and whatnot. In the past, this doesn't matter. I don't look at it. But, and, I've always got them in the back of my mind, and it's sort of like, can I trust them again? And, But I did have a feeling I still loved it. And it didn't matter what they did. That feeling wouldn't go away. And even though I tried to hide it and move on, I couldn't. I couldn't. Basically, we got, we started talking and everything, and then caught up a few times. And then one night I was in the car dropping her off. And I remember I asked her, I was like, okay, what's happening? And she was like, look, she's like, I know there's something there, I'm always thinking about you, even when I've been with other people, you've always been at the back of my mind. And honestly, just to hear that, it felt really lifted me up again.
Yeah.
Like just even that little bit. And she basically just said that she wanted to take things slow. And I think that's the key, is to a lot of people these days, and what I've seen in relationships, is people just dive into things, and that's not what you can do.
Yeah.
And over time we just hung out more and caught up, and then it was going really well, and she was taking it really slow. And then it was one night at her 21st, and I went obviously and everything, and she was very drunk and had quite a bit to drink. And we went to this, I guess, pub or club, and I sort of thought, okay, this is a night where she's just going to maybe hook up with someone. So these are from past experiences. I hadn't seen her or been with her in ages, so I don't know what to expect. And basically, she didn't. And she was with me the whole night, and she came up to me, and she looked me in the eyes, and she's whispering in my ear, and she's like, Alex, do you want to be my boyfriend? At that moment, my heart just dropped. It was like amazing. And she's like, I don't want to be with anyone else but you. And, it took 2 years, that's time. Yeah. And now we're together, and it's going really well. She's the most amazing person ever. And she's, But I think that what I was getting at, the point I'm getting at, is that, and that's with rowing as well, is like, if you truly believe there's something there, if you truly have this feeling, and I've learned to gut feeling is massive. It's people talk about it, but it's so underestimated. It's massive. Gut feeling, if you believe there's something there, if you just know, and no matter what other people say, people going like, you never trust it, never do this or that or whatever. People can say things, but at the end of the day, what is right. Basically, I've waited 2 years and 2 years to be with her, which I am now. And, I look back on it, and it's like, I easily could have just been like, okay, screw this and never talk to them again and stuff. I knew there was something there. I believe there's something there. I've heard it before. It's like you commit yourself to an act of service. Sort of, it's like that. And, you just got to be consistent, and then
you have the courage to trust your gut feeling and actually get out of, and not just give in to every single external influence that you learn to.
That's right, exactly. Because then if you do that in life, everything that you think is right, and you think's going really well, and you really want to perceive it, and then someone says something bad, and you're like, okay, I'm going to drop it. That thing could have been taking you so far. and you're just like, nah, because someone said something
Yeah.
or one thing went wrong.
Yeah.
It's like in life, you've just got to, it's all you. You know, you get these feelings for a reason. You get what you believe for a reason.
It's like your body is your vehicle to achieve your dreams.
Exactly, yeah. You got to listen to it. It's your temple. It is. It's, and a temple is like the most wisest thing in the world. It's like, you know, it's so hard to explain. You just, honestly, at the moment, I'm so flurried with these emotions and feelings. It's almost hard to get my words right. But
you're leaving it all out there.
I am. I'm literally leaving it out there. I'm putting it out there, and I'm being straight up because it's, you know, if I hadn't have done that, I probably wouldn't still be rowing, and even if I was, I wouldn't be at the level I am now.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, and people tell me all the time, oh, yeah, it comes back to like, oh yeah, you're too small and stuff. It's like, cool, but I know that there's something there in rowing.
Yeah.
I know that it's gonna, you know, something big's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You just gotta work hard, dedicate yourself, and you just gotta, like I said, it's just committing to an act of service, and it's just been consistent, and it's like, but yeah, you know, whether it's with love or life or sports or passions or dreams, like whatever it is
follow your gut.
Honestly, follow your gut, follow what you believe and what feels right, and any obstacles or any people that come in and try to put negative on you, that's because they're jealous, and that's because there's something wrong with them, and they've got to figure that out, and they're trying to bring you down to their level. Just shove them out.
I was gonna say, like, after knowing you for a long time, and you just like, sure you could say like up high and then like low, where you're just like, I said visualization, you're just like on the ground, just crying.
Oh yeah.
It's just from what we've talked about in the past like hour, it's like literally like I feel inspired just to go, like jump up and moving. So like I literally like I'm getting hyped up, like I'm inspired. It's like I just want to go out and just tell everyone like just everything, like I'm this, like I'm gonna just be me.
Exactly.
And that's just like, it's really, really good just as a friend to see you like this.
Awesome. I'm so glad you are like, but it's true. And you know, like everything you do, I'm like, you're always supportive, and it's like, but it is, like you've seen me at my lowest. I remember finding a time, and I was very emotional. You know, I was crying everywhere. I was upset, and you know, you saw me at that moment, and it's like, it's moments like those you see me then, and then it's moments where you're at your highest peak. It's just amazing to see people, and you just never know what people go through.
That's why it's key. Yeah, I was just trying my best to be there. Yeah,
and you were. I mean, like, it's those little things. It's just those little things that add up. And add up and add up, and over time, boom, they add up, and you know, you don't know them. So some small gesture, some small thing you do for someone, or someone does for you, you know, it can add up to something huge that you don't even know, and you might forget about that small gesture they did. But I think that's why you got to be so grateful and appreciative of life every day. It's really true. It's you know, I mean, you live life for you know, however many years you do, and you spend those years and those days and that time however you want to. You know, you're in control. It's like, you know, but it's, you know, you've just got to be so grateful of everything, the ups and downs that happen, because they, no matter if it's ups or downs, they'll lead to great things. I think, you know, people just get so hung up, and it's sort of sad to see. But, you know, it's people can just bring them up and, you know, share what they have, and everyone's got something to share, and you can change someone's life. So,
there's one last thing, Alex, before we finish off today. If you were going to die tomorrow, this is 80-year-old Alex.
80-year-old Alex.
And you were going to die tomorrow, you just knew it somehow. What would you say to your grandchild?
Piece of wisdom I'll give to him. I think it's a tough one, because I'm not going to give him anything, and we're just talking about it before. I'm not going to say anything that I've said in this podcast or to you. And that's because that's something you learn in your life along your way. And basically, that's what I'll say to him. I'll be like, look, whatever his name is, I'll be like, son, there's nothing, no piece of advice, nothing I can say to you that, you know, that you probably haven't or won't hear in your life. But what I will say is that, it's
is that it?
for you to go out and experience. Pretty much, it's, Yeah, that's basically what I mean. It's for you to just, you follow your own path. You don't go on anyone else's. You can be along someone, but it's at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, if I'm going to tell you something or give advice, and people say advice, oh, it's only, advice. It's just, informing people of something, but it's like, but I'd rather them just learn it themselves because we all interpret things differently. I think that's a massive thing as well, is that how we do all interpret different things and different meanings in our own ways, and that's also what makes people great, is that they do interpret things in their own ways and in other ways that people don't see. So if I give the impression, or if I say, give a piece of advice in my interpretation, and I give that to my son, then he's going to interpret it the same way. Whereas if he heard it or learnt it a different way, then he would, or she would, with my daughter, if I had both, it doesn't, it just depends. And they would interpret it in their own way. And that's their path. It's not crossing over to mine or anyone else's. And I think that's another big thing, is that you do have to be careful about what you say to people. To, I think what we've said on this podcast and stuff, that's not advice. We're telling our stories. We're opening up, and people, it's inspiring. So it's
inspiring to hear someone like what someone else has been through.
Exactly. It is, and it can be as boring as it can be boring, or it can be as exciting as it is amazingly exciting. But it doesn't matter, because it's unique to that person. I think that, if everyone had the same story, it'd be a pretty shit world. It'd be a pretty bland, dull world. And that's why everyone's got their own story, and everything's, that's why nothing's the same. It's just, I'll say that. Actually, I'll probably give that advice to my kid.
Nothing's the same.
Yeah, nothing's the same. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique, and you can never take one thing from one person and keep that for the rest of your life. Never do that. You just get a flurry of things if you need. Take no notice. Don't even acknowledge it. Just hear what people have to say, and then throw it away and find out how you interpret it. And then maybe it is like someone else's. It's like someone might tell me this or that, or you get all these people telling you things, and then you're like, okay, cool, I've acknowledged it. I'm going to throw it away. I'm just going to sort of ignore it. And then maybe down the line in life, you sort of make this interpretation of that thing, and it could be similar to someone else's. It won't be the exact same, but it could be similar. And you'll have that at the back of your mind, and you'll be like, oh, I think I've heard that somewhere. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, that person told me this, or that's right, that's quite similar to that person's. And you're sort of like, they're the people you want to keep in your life, because they're the people who are on the same sort of aligned with you. So I think it's, nothing's exact, nothing's perfect, nothing's the same, but there are things that are close. So I think to sort of take one side of something and to always go by one,
it's not right. You just need to just have the ability to filter and
open-minded.
Open-minded.
Just be open-minded. And that's what it comes down to.
To something? Okay, so what do you think the moment was where, like, kind of, have you always wanted to be a rower? Or just kind of, was there a moment when you was like, rowing is kind of, I love rowing, or just, I'm not, rowing was your thing? Like, when did that kind of happen? Like, have you always wanted to be, or kind of like, was it in your family growing up, or kind of just, what happened?
Rowing's definitely not neither is it. When I talk about aviation, that's nothing I do is in the family. It seems to all just be, Dad played sports when he was a kid. He played rugby and cricket, and, his first 11, 15 or whatever, but then no one's really, not a sporty family. No one's done successfully or anything in sport. I don't know. I rowed at school for a couple of years, and, I was always told I had potential. I went on RPC sort of camps and stuff, and then obviously I got that injury, so I had to stop. But I think at college you get persuaded people to, I probably might have I was always going to say I was going to quit rowing, and especially in the winter time, and play rugby. And so definitely at school, no. And then it was probably when I moved to Whangamata, and well, I met Annie, who's now my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she sort of, well, her brother rowed, and she used to row as well. And
Yeah.
obviously now, well, she coaches. And basically, I just remember her talking about it, and it just sort of something clicked in my mind, and I was like, rowing, like, I've forgotten about it. And I was surfing at that time, and I was sort of like, oh, maybe I'm going to do well in surfing. But there's something about surfing I did not like, and it was probably the culture or something of it. Surfing wasn't for me, and I knew it, but I didn't know because I've always wanted to be sport. I've always been outdoor kid, always been sporty. I wanted to do something in sports.
Yeah.
And then rowing, I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into rowing. And so, I mean, she got me back into rowing, and then basically from there, I had an erg at home, and then Dad had his bike. He got a new bike, so I took his old bike when I went back to Wellington, brought those up, and basically just started on my own training. I'd go for runs, I'd go for cycles, I'd go for ergs. I was working at a burger joint at the evening, so I'd get 2 to 3 trainings in a day.
Yeah.
I didn't really do weights. It wasn't really something I was doing. I was more just focusing on cycling and erging, and just building that up. And I remember when I started, and it was horrible. I just remember being on the erg at this place in Whangamata, and just I don't even think I did like 3. I was doing really short, slow ergs. Like I was doing like 3 times 10 minutes, or a few sprint pieces, like 100 meter pieces, and like I can just remember it was horrible. And I'd always say to myself, I was like, maybe this isn't the right thing. Like, what am I doing? And then I just thought, like, I don't know. And then something, that's right. And then something came to my mind, and it was like, Olympics. Like, go to the Olympics. You want to be the best. Like, I want to be the best at something. And rowing, there's something about it. Even though it was horrible, even though I was in a lot of pain, it was almost addictive. Like, I almost loved it. I really loved the pain. I loved the grind and the hard work that
this almost sounds like the satisfaction that you get from
it's
achieving it.
Just talking about it, it's sort of just like I'm clenching my fist. It just gives me It's exciting. It's really exciting because and rowing's one of those sports you put the work in, and you get out what you put in. And that's what I think. I love like I said, the hard work and the satisfaction, the grind of it, and that just fits in perfectly with rowing. And so I was just like, okay, set myself a goal. Boom, I want to make the under-23s in New Zealand. I want to make, which I'm trialing for next year. If I make a trial, and then I'm gonna go for the elites, go to the Olympics. I'm gonna win a gold medal. Boom, I'm gonna win a gold medal. I'm gonna be the best rower there is. And I guess I just kept training, and then I sort of decided. Well, Auckland, I decided to move up because of rowing and opportunities and stuff, but I could have gone anywhere for that. And to be honest, I probably went up to Auckland not for her, it wasn't mainly for her, but it was sort of
it was in the back of your mind.
There's something about it, and I just it felt gut feeling. It just felt right to do, and I was like, okay, boom, let's just move up to Auckland. And so I did, and then started rowing at the club, did everything like that, and I kept building. I kept getting better and better. And I think that's the thing with rowing, is that you keep getting better. You can never plateau, and you can, and you can think you are, but the thing is that you're always going to get better, and it surprises you, which I think is great. It just comes out of nowhere. It's just like, whoa, like, how did I do that? Like, one day you just pull like a 5-second better split. Shit. And then, I think basically, I was just spent a year. How long have I been here? Just over a year up here training, and I've just been loving. I've been hating it, but I've been loving it. And it's just been getting better and better. I'm getting stronger and stronger, and it all. But I mean, it all started in Whangamata and basically for Annie. And I think I've really got to. I can't thank enough for the support that my dad's given me. Like, it's just financially, just through love and care, and just always being there. And it's almost like he wants to see me do better than I want to see myself do. And Annie's the same. She wants me to, it's like she's wants me to do better than almost I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to think, but it's those basically, yeah, Annie and my dad, it's just like, well, see, I gotta say, especially dad, it's, you know,
It's just those people that kind of see more in you than like you could even see yourself sometimes.
yeah, and even coaches, like coaches and rowers at the club see that, and it's so little, even if it's not much, and even if it's just like one or two words, it's just those little things that sort of just click something in your brain, and you're just like, you know, that is like, it just brings you back to the roots of why you did it.
Yeah.
And you know, you always have those memories and stuff as well. So no, it's great, but it's definitely. I mean, I could go on. I could tell you every single day I've rowed it. It's like you could just go on about it. That's good. But yeah, I mean,
What?
I
I couldn't put that in. Yeah, what do you think people misunderstand about you?
Yeah, probably that I'm like just like have the tough. Well, I don't know because I am. Probably that I'm not sensitive.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. Like, I'm probably like the one of the most sensitive guys ever, but I guess a lot of people don't really see that until they sort of get to know me.
Well, I think mine is that, I don't know, when it's like you see the person that you meet coming, it could be like someone who like smiles a lot, or like might be like just kind of goofy. But then I'm actually like, part of me is like, I'm really driven, like, and like, I can be serious when I want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like seeing, there's like this, I'm not just kind of that part that you just like that. See, there's a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's it's like there's just more to what you see. You have to do with life as well.
Yeah. And then we got what makes you inspired to be like your best self. Show you mine.
Yeah, go yours first.
So I definitely think it literally is just seeing and talking to people about things I'm passionate about, and just hearing them talk about their dreams and their driving and and what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, that just gets me so like our talk yesterday.
Yeah.
It just gets me like so. It just gets me so inspired of something that you're actually doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And like you're making effort to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I love that when people are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They like it. They're actually trying to like get out of where they come from or something, or like just
probably, I don't know, probably like just to know that I can be the best. I guess just to know that I can be that number one, be that top, and just sort of, you know, there's nothing that says I can't.
How do your parents describe what you do for a living?
Just watching that. I don't know, because I like Dad would tell people because they'd ask. I guess he'd say he's just living in Auckland. He's pursuing rowing, I guess.
Yeah.
A kid pursuing rowing and working really up there.
I think my parents have kind of really yet to understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Properly, like I kind of talk to them about it, but I'm just gradually showing them as I go.
Yeah, it is though. It is like you know, no one can really ever say what you're doing except for you.
I actually like, he was like talking about something like the world's strongest man or something, like he may seem cocky or something, but like it's not cocky when you're the best.
Yeah, that's like what Hamish and Eric was saying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you can't be cocky when you are like you have those rights.